Forget 28 days, 28 years later. This week, Shabana Mahmood talked tough on illegal migration.
It is our creed as the Labour Party that the state can and must be a force for good. Without the trust of citizens in the state, there is no space for Labour values in any part of government to be realised. Restoring order and control at our border is not a betrayal of Labour values. It is the necessary condition for a Labour government to achieve anything it hopes to. It is within that context that I am embarking on some of the most significant reforms to migration, both legal and asylum, in a generation.
Sounds good, sounds good. She also talked tough about protecting taxpayers' money.
It is an affront to every family currently waiting for social housing, to those who have already spent too long on an NHS waiting list, and to British taxpayers who will inevitably foot the bill.
It was all going so well until this.
This government will now pilot a similar model for families who are failed asylum seekers, a small number of whom will now be offered an increased incentive payment of £10,000 per person and up to a maximum of £40,000 per family.
Come again?
This government will now pilot a similar model for families who are failed asylum seekers, a small number of whom will now be offered an increased incentive payment of £10,000 per person and up to a maximum of £40,000 per family.
So let me get this straight. We are going to pay failed asylum seekers up to £40,000 to leave instead of putting them in secured accommodation and detaining them on arrival and keeping them there until their claim is processed, like what they would do in countries that, oddly, many of those who've travelled across numerous safe countries never seek refuge from. Who wants to be locked up when you could get to the UK, be free to roam, be accommodated ahead of the people who actually live here, and be given direct access to medical and dental care, again ahead of the people of this country, and then be given up to £40,000 to leave, higher than the average income? I quite fancy that myself. And what's to stop you from coming back? Remember the hokey-cokey migrant, one in, one out? Bring you. Our Home and Security editor, Mark White, is there for us to give us more. Mark, what can you tell us?
Well, another major development as far as the France returns deal is concerned. We can confirm today that a second small boat migrant who was deported under this return scheme has now arrived back across the English Channel and into the UK.
Yeah, that was her previous idea. And even if you are lined up for deportation, you can repeatedly appeal, like Bangladeshi illegal migrant Muna Mia, who entered Britain illegally over 28 years ago. Muna has won a reprieve from deportation and will be able to challenge his removal again after he entered the UK in 1998. He has fought his deportation many times, even trying to apply for indefinite leave to remain because he'd been in the UK for over 20 years. The absolute cheek of it. This time round, his claim on human rights grounds was dismissed, yet he appealed again. He claimed that errors had been made in how the evidence was treated, and an upper tribunal judge agreed with him. So another hearing is going to take place. I mean, frankly, who's paying for all of this? Guess. How on earth will offering a cash incentive to people like this discourage others from illegally entering this country? The answer is it won't. 40,000 is just over 6.5 million in Bangladeshi taka. Now, the average monthly wage in Bangladesh is £200. That's £2,400 per year. I'd say that offering someone anything from 10k to 40,000 for having entered here illegally is utter madness. I don't buy the argument that it'll cost us less in the long term. We shouldn't be paying for it at all. Shabana, you can do better than that. I'm sorry, but I don't want you to spend my hard-earned taxes on that. Think again, because I can guarantee you, Shabana, that if you remove the incentives rather than giving out more, that would do the job.
There's nothing more important than keeping your money and your identity safe online. And with so many VPN options available, choosing the right one can be pretty daunting. But this video's sponsor, ExpressVPN, is making the choice easier for GB News viewers. ExpressVPN is offering up to 75% off, plus 4 extra months free. That's top-level security from just £2.49 a month, and you're covered by their 30-day money-back guarantee. So just click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code now. Remember, when you're online, you are often sharing personal data, so hackers can steal your information, your passwords, your photos, and your bank details in just seconds. But ExpressVPN encrypts your connection, making it virtually impossible for hackers to access your personal information. So why choose ExpressVPN? Well, it couldn't be easier to use. With just one click, you are protected. And ExpressVPN uses military-grade AES 256 encryption, which is the same standard trusted by the US government to guard their classified information. With their new tiered plans, you can protect up to 14 devices at once and manage passwords securely. Live chat support is available 24/7, and it typically connects you in under a minute with a real person. Click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code to get up to 75% off ExpressVPN, plus 4 months extra for free. Start protecting yourself today with ExpressVPN.
Right, before we get stuck into the debate, here's what else is coming up today. For the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, will giving cash to illegal migrants help them to leave? The government announced that they will pay failed asylum seekers' families up to £40,000 to leave the UK. But will that not actually incentivise more people to come here? We'll debate that. Then, for the second Great British Debate of this hour, I'm asking, does Britain need an anti-Muslim hostility SAR? The government is set to appoint one alongside its new definition of Islamophobia. But is this really necessary? And should there not just be one as well for anti-Semitism, Christianity and the others? We'll debate, does Britain need an anti-Muslim hostility SAR? And England's Chief Medical Officer, Chris Whitty, has said that relying on weight loss drugs to tackle obesity would be a societal and medical failure in Britain. We'll ask whether he's right. All of that coming up. As ever, send me your thoughts, post your comments, gbnews.com/your say, or why not scan the QR code on the screen. Right, well, I'm joined now by the founder of the Sanctuary Foundation, Dr. Krish Kandiah. Krish, come on, she's gone mad. Seriously giving up to £40,000 for people who've come here illegally. Some of them, like, for example, this guy who's trying to stay here, if he was given £40,000 in his currency, that'd be just about 6.5 million taki, which would be nice, really. Krish, does this work? Is this madness?
Nana, good to see you. And I was cheering you on this week. You challenged one of your guests who was insinuating that you weren't really British, even though you were born here. And I thought you did a great job.
Oh, thank you, Chris.
This is a complicated situation. What's happening with this payment? It's £10,000 per person for a limited number of people. And as your clip showed, this is an increase in what was already happening. Even the Rwanda scheme, the very few people that were deported through the Rwanda scheme were paid to go. So this isn't a Labour government idea. This was in existence before with the Conservatives. And the idea, I guess, is that £10,000 per head is a lot cheaper than keeping people in detention or keeping people in hotels.
Well,
so there is a net saving to the taxpayer.
Well, no. That depends on whether you don't think of the unintended consequences of making such an offer. The unintended consequences, I suspect, would be that more people will want to come here and they won't care if they fail asylum. So we'll get more people who are likely to fail because they don't care, because you're going to give them money to leave. So I'm wondering if that's been factored in. My point was, if you keep giving incentives, then you'll end up inviting people here rather than getting rid of them.
I can see where you're coming from,
yes.
And that definitely could be a problem.
I think it would be a problem.
Most of the people that I meet that are asylum seekers are fleeing war and terror, so it's push factors rather than pull factors.
Well, that's the point. Those people, if you say they're genuine, but the disingenuous ones will think, hold on a minute, 10 grand, that's how much in my currency, because it doesn't even take into account where they've come from. So If they're coming from wherever, Afghanistan, that'd be a lot of money there as well. So all these countries who have people who could flee, who don't necessarily need to, will come here knowing they'll get money and be given money to leave.
Look, I think the whole immigration plan is a bit of a meatball sundae. It's trying to please everybody. It's trying to please some of your audience who are wanting us to be a bit tougher about things. But there is a little bit of sweetness in the deal that there's a plan called the Named Community Sponsorship Programme, which would allow communities to say, you know what, we would like to help more refugees, just like we did for the Ukraine. And so that's the kind of sweetness. But I think the problem is, as a meatball sundae, it's really going to please nobody. It's too harsh for some people and too sweet for others. So I think there is a little bit of a problem in this proposal as it stands.
Yeah, it's not good, is it? Look, what I would do, Chris, everybody who arrives here illegally, when refugees, they can say they're refugee, that is fine. But you'll be detained. You'll be allowed to roam the streets freely. Because A, we don't know who you are. B, we don't know whether you're genuine. If you're genuine, then after a certain period of time, you will be allowed to leave, work and do all the things, we're given protection and all the things that whatever we offer to people who we know are genuine. But up to the point where you arrive here and we don't know who you are, even if you are detained and kept in that secure location for up to a year, it doesn't matter. The bottom line is we don't know who you are. You can't be roaming free. And that alone will deter people. Why don't they do something more like that?
Look, they trialled a program in America with its southern border under the Biden administration, where if you made your own way to America without going through the right process, you lost the ability to actually claim asylum. And they created safe routes where people from places like Nicaragua and Venezuela, and we know how bad things were there, could make an application while they were in Nicaragua and Venezuela to come to America legally. And you lost the right to do that if you broke the rules and made your own way. So I do think we need a tough border. We need to have control. I think we'd agree with that. But I think we also need safe and compassionate routes. And weirdly, that's something that Shabana Mahmood argued for when she was an MP, before she became a minister, when she was in opposition. She went to the island of Lesbos and met so many people that were struggling there. She was petitioning a Conservative government for more safe and legal routes. And I want to see more of that. And there's a little hint of it in this immigration policy, but there's just not enough for me, or they haven't really spoken it up enough for me. So I'm hoping we'll hear a bit more of that soon.
Well, see, now, I'm all for that. If people want to come, you can make safe and legal routes and they can apply outside of the UK. And then I would say that if you come in any other way, then you can be sent back. For that, I agree with you, Chris. And that is one of the things I have said many times, that people should be allowed to apply from their embassies or whatever it is that they would apply in their own country. And if they come here in any other way, illegally, and try and claim asylum, they will be sent back. And I think, and that's where somewhere like Rwanda, a third country, would have been a good deal, because then everybody who came here via dinghy would be placed somewhere or returned. And that way, if there was a safe and legal route that was in their own country where they could apply, then that would be the answer. Chris Candia, my God, you've come out with something that is, well, it's agreeable. Chris, well done.
Good to find some common ground. Always good to see you. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you, Chris Candia. Thank you very much. That's Dr. Chris Candia, founder of the Sanctuary Foundation, although there wouldn't be loads and loads and loads of routes, but we could do that on routes where loads and loads of people appear to be coming from and then staying here under our thing. We could just send them back.